Hello, I'm the Progressive Disciple, and I'm taking a journey through the Bible, and I'm inviting you to join me. Today we are covering the Third Epistle of John. The Third Epistle to John is a letter to Gaius about Diotrephes and the division he is causing in his church. In 3 John chapter 1, verses 9 and 10, he writes, I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first, will not welcome us. So when I come, I will call attention to what he is doing, spreading malicious nonsense about us. Not satisfied with that, he even refused to welcome other believers. He also stops those who want to do so and puts them out of the church. I once remembered a sermon about a church fight. Started with two women. They both made pies for the church social. One liked to divide the pie into eighths. The other liked to divide the pie into sixths. They both argued, and the argument became very angry. Two factions formed, one with the 8 slices of pie, the other with 6 slices of pie, and eventually they tore the church apart. They started 2 new churches, and both of them failed. This situation also brings to mind a book that I have read called Defrocked by Franklin Schaeffer. He found himself involved in worship wars, where they had a contemporary service and a traditional service. The people of the choir leader of the traditional service stopped cooperating with him because he was spending too much time with the contemporary service. Eventually, she quit. And his son found out that he had performed a wedding for his gay son, and thus formed a group of concerned citizens and put him on trial in the Methodist religion. Church fights can be destructive. I remember in our own church when we got a new minister, several people did not like the direction the new minister was going, and so several people dropped out. What was disturbing is that some of the former members started recruiting members of our church to join their new church. So, how do you deal with a church faction that's threatening to tear the church apart? In 3 John chapters 1, 11, and 12, it's written, Dear friends, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. Anyone who does what is good is from God. Anyone who does what is evil has not seen God. The Demetrius is well spoken by everyone, and even by the truth itself. We also speak well of him, and you know that our testimony is true. What I recommend is to try to stay out of the fray. It's best not to get involved in factions in the church, particularly if one is against another faction in the church. We like to think that our philosophy is the correct one. We know we are made in God's image, but oftentimes we try to flip that and put God in our image. I'd like to remind everyone what it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12. We see in a mirror dimly. What that means to me is that in some aspects of our theology, we are bound to be wrong, which means the people who feel different than us might be right. I need to give myself permission to be wrong and to look at the other point of view with respect. I may not agree with it, but is it worth dividing the entire congregation over? We need to think about this before we start a church fight. And that is my view of the Third Epistle of John. It was a very short book, only 15 chapters. And you know what this means? It is time for another lottery. Seems like we've been doing a lot of these lately. So, let me open my tickets here. And let's fill the hat. So once again, I'm mixing these up and pulling out another slip of paper. And the next book that we will study will be the book of Zephaniah. This is only 3 chapters, so again, I should be able to cover this in one sitting. If you have any comments on the Third Epistle of John, please leave them in the comments below. I'm the Progressive Disciple, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.